Hello and welcome to another episode of the Anime Lounge podcast. I'm your host Lance, along with my other host Matt. And today we have our other host Alec joining us today. How you doing there?
Doing pretty good. Glad to be back.
Always
Thanks
great
for
to have
joining
you.
us.
Every episode we like to start out by introducing our adult beverages of choice. Today I'm going to be drinking some more of my wedding whiskey. At this point, it's been going on for just over 2 years at this point. This has been
Ooh.
aged for a long time. I need to dump the rest of this into a bottle before too much of it evaporates. But it does taste really good. I gotta get you guys to try this. Alec, I'm sorry I can't let you try it. You're too far away.
Send him one little shooter.
A shooter of it? Yeah. I can do that.
I'll drink by the vial. It'll be great.
Yeah, right. And then I'm actually chasing this back with a White Claw Surge Blackberry. These White Claws, same price as a regular White Claw, but they have 3% more alcohol.
Ooh.
So that's why I went with this one.
Great for the alcohol volume.
Yeah.
Don't care about the drink.
Strong whiskey, strong White Claw. We're doing stuff tonight. What about you,
Nice.
Matt? What are you drinking?
So I'm gonna go with some Southern classics. I'm actually drinking a Yuengling from when I was in vacation in the South. Was able to get some brought back home. So drinking
if-
more of that.
For our listeners, Yuengling is a regional kind of beer. And up here in Wisconsin, we do not have access to it.
Which is funny because see, I'm from the South and I've always had Yuengling. So to me, it's like, oh yeah, Yuengling. Like we drink those all the time. It'd probably be like your guys' spotted cow. Like I had never seen those before, but you guys drink those all the time.
Exactly.
Yep. And then I'm drinking some more E.H. Taylor whiskey. So deliciousness.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
love the
Alec, what
Southern
about you?
theme.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going a little bit of a northern route today or tonight. I'm drinking some Anchorage Distillery small batch whiskey, which is a bottle I brought back from Alaska after my brother-in-law got married, and I'll be chasing that down with a Wicked Grove hard cider, which is Aldi's. Basically, their same thing. It's like Bold Rock or their hard apple cider.
Just a hard
Always
cider, yeah.
classic.
Yep.
I've seen that at Aldi before. I've been tempted to grab it, but I know I've been let down with ciders before. Like I can drink one cider and it'll be just fine, but after I get to like my third one, it starts to get a little, I don't know, just that I don't even know how to describe it. There's that tanginess in your mouth. Like I can only handle like one or two.
It's the same way with this stuff too. I think it's all around the board.
Yeah.
I think I think like everyone's limit is around three to four.
Yeah.
I think it's the spices they put inside of it that just make it not great.
Probably. All right, Matt. So what are we going to be covering today?
All right, so we, as the description says, will be covering Windbreaker. Windbreaker is a 13 episode, one season so far series, and I'm pulling this description from Crunchyroll, and it says, "Welcome to Furin High School, an institution famous for its population of brawlery brutes who solve every conflict with a show of strength. Some of the students even formed a group, Ofurin, which protects the town. Sakura, a first-year student who moved in from out of town, is only interested in one thing, fighting his way to the top." Quick and simple.
Good enough.
I'd say that covers it pretty well.
Well enough, yeah. At least for the first season. We'll see what happens in season 2. But before we get too far, Lance, you want to give us that Lance's lesson?
Today's Lance's Lessons is going to be the Japanese word for protect. And protect is Mamoru. Mamoru is spelled Mamoru. And Mamoru is very relevant to today's episode because our main gang is protecting this specific city because gangs suck ass and they would just want to protect the small town and make sure everybody's happy.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Mamoru. And now that we have Lance's lessons taken care of, Matt, did there happen to be any differences between the anime and the manga?
NANI?!
Very few. That basically nothing of real importance. For anybody who wants to continue where season 1 ends, the manga ends on chapter 40. So if you want to continue, look up chapter 41 and you can see what would be season 2. One thing that is kind of interesting is Hagari kind of looks different. Like he looks more, I guess, shark-ish, kind of like what his teeth represent. Like his face is just kind of more like pointed and everything versus in the anime where it's a little bit more softer.
Okay.
And honestly, the biggest difference is Togame. So the fight with the vice leader for Shishorin and Sakura, his super long monologue doesn't happen.
Oh,
Like where he's trying to like put the floor back together because it's all glass and all that extra bullshit stuff. Yeah, that doesn't
Oh,
happen.
where they went into like a weird like black space and he's like stomping on the ground and the floor shatters and he's slowly putting it together.
Yeah, like all the self-doubt and all the basically distraught that he's having because of what Choji, I think is what the leader's
The,
name is.
yeah, he just looks like a little boy. He
Yeah.
he definitely acts like it, but yeah, he's the leader of the rival crew.
So the self-doubt and stuff for that does happen, but his kind of like monologue stuff where he's just kind of being all depressed in the middle of nowhere, that doesn't really happen. So half of an episode.
Okay.
And then you get to see what that the eye patch guy, is that how you say his name?
Suo.
Tua?
Suo? Okay. You see kind of like what those texts are. Like you actually get to read them. They translate them and you get to see what everything is. So at the biggest one is when they're going to save the cat, you actually see the excitement in everybody in class 1-1, like being like, oh yeah, let's go save this person. So that was kind of cool to see that they're kind of rallying behind Sakura
Okay.
because they all started a group chat for the whole class. As we do find out, so you get to see kind of the messages and stuff.
Okay, I was gonna say because I'm pretty sure Crunchyroll, like even if you have your like not even subtitles, but I forget what the other one's called,
The
but like
translations as
the
well.
translation thing, like typically in anime you can see like little subtitles popping up on your screen trying to let you follow along with what they're texting. But yeah, I didn't get any of that.
Got
No, not
nothing.
on this
Yeah.
one.
I was very confused, but I was like, I guess they're all hyped about something. All right, cool.
Yep.
Then like the other one is they were basically it was the first time. So when they start the group chat and Sakura's in the restaurant trying to eat breakfast and he's like they're scrolling doing it's basically just a bunch of kids being kids is really all that was.
Yeah.
And talk about being excited about picking who the captain's gonna be. And that's when Sakura's like, what is a class captain? And that's what he's trying to type out. And they're typing too fast to continue the messages to be able to for Sakura to type out what is a class captain. Like he couldn't even type out 4 words.
Yeah, before there's already a whole paragraph of shit to read, so his text would have been irrelevant.
Yep.
Okay, that makes a whole lot more sense. Us viewers, we just knew that he was fumbling with texting, and that's all we could really pick up. So that's good to know. I like that.
But yeah, that's really it. That is really all the differences when it comes to the manga and the anime. The beginning is almost verbatim the same. It's really up until that fight with Choji, or sorry, not Choji, but
So
Togame, where it starts changing just a tad bit, but nothing really at all.
okay, well, that's pretty good on their part, staying true to the source manga. So that's good to know.
Yeah, even
Matt, I kind of have a
yes.
question on that, actually.
Yeah, what's up?
Have you noticed that like more mangas are starting to go in that direction of like mangas and shows being very much the same in like plot line and detail and all of those factors? Whereas like I feel like older style mangas like what we used to read, back in, middle school and high school, I felt like there were a lot of like key differences and Easter eggs back in those which gave a reason to read the mangas in the first place.
I would say it depends. I know that's kind of a cop out, but I can't even say a lot of more of the more popular ones, they tend to stick to it a little bit better, but there's always going to be certain things that are left out for various reasons. I guess it comes to light novels that are going to have some more changes than like mangas, just because a light novel is going to have so much extra details that it's almost impossible to try and put all the information in and still be a well flowing series, because sometimes things just are needed in a light novel because you have to picture it in your mind versus in an anime where it's obvious, it's visual, you can see it.
Right. So I think what it comes down to is if the original source is a light novel, the anime would like to pull more source material from the light novel, and then the manga will take some liberties and take some shortcuts or do whatever they need to do to make things just a little bit easier on their part. So that's where some differences could be as well.
Yeah, like so our last episode that we just launched not that long ago was the Wandering Witch. Basically, the mangaka was like, "Yeah, I'm just pulling stories that I like, and I'm gonna make this into a manga this way." And it's like,
Yeah, you nitpicked
okay,
it.
so there's that as well. But as far as like anime from a manga specific, yes and no. The better ones do a better job of sticking to the source material, and really from what I've seen, a lot of them, because of what we enjoy for the most part, which is shonen, it's the fight scenes that are always extended and details like that personally I'm not going to bog down and be like, oh, these are so much different. It's like, well yeah, give me a 10-minute fight versus a 2-minute fight, especially when it's the
Gotcha.
main characters.
Yeah. When it comes to shonen, you're there for the action. So let's put all of the animation and all of the actual focus in on the actual fights to keep our audience there.
Yeah, then I guess the last thing I'll say is, at least for this, unless like the context of a conversation changes, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like say, oh, this paragraph was different within this conversation, because it could just be a translation thing between the translator for the manga and the translator for the anime. They could be trying to pull different references to make things more just relatable. Could be a lot of things that just have one translation slightly different than the other one. I'm not going to call that a difference. I'm just going to be like, well, those are two conversations that have the exact same point to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And another thing I picked up on recently is translating L's and R's. I feel that the American subtitled stuff is automatically going to change a lot of L's to R's. Like if we go back to Kaiju number 8 with the sub main character Reno, his name in one translation that I'm reading is Leno, Leno. So maybe they just take an American liberty and just assume that it might be more relevant to just change his name to Reno. So it might just be a regional thing as well.
The one I remember from as a teenager was Kilala from Inuyasha.
Yep.
It's
Kirara.
Yeah, so it's that one always gets me. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. No, that's not actually how you say it.
Yeah, that was a big when I finished that series in Japanese many years ago, growing up on Adult Swim, seeing Kilala, getting so used to that, and then going to finish it up in Japanese in Kirara, I'm like, that is not okay, maybe it is. So yeah, that was a thing you just gotta get used to.
Yep. So yeah, let's get into some anime talk. I guess should we start from the biggest part of the series, which was the mini tournament that we had with Shistorin and Bufurin?
Sure, we can kind of bring up our favorite, because obviously our favorite characters are going to be one of those 5. So I mean, we can kind of tie that into it, and it's not like anything else ever really happened in the show other than that. So yeah, I guess we can go straight there.
Yeah, go straight into the action. Kind of the biggest pull, that mini tournament. That was I do appreciate a little tournament style thing going on. So I was definitely all about all of this.
A little 1v1 last man standing kind of thing.
Yeah. All right, Matt, let's start with you. Let's go to this big tournament. Which fight was your favorite? Which characters did you like? Describe what you're thinking.
To give a very quick rundown for anybody who doesn't quite remember all the fights, there were 5. So the very first fight was Arima versus Shugashita. Arima was the guy with like the shaved side of his head. Shugashita was the individual with the long hair. After that, we had the fight between Kanuma, which had the slick backed hair, and Suo. We had the fight between, or we had the call out, I like to call it the call out fight, Kota versus Hiragi, and then the Sakura versus Togame fight, and the Hajime versus Chuji fight. Hajime versus Choji fight. Apparently, I'm terrible with Japanese names, which is a terrible thing to admit. But we had those fights. My favorite fight was the Suo versus Kanomiya fight. And that was basically for just the literal ass kicking that Suo gave. And it wasn't even a challenge for him. He barely had to do any efforts and just pretty much ridiculed him from the moment he stepped on the stage. I just thought it was a good fight. And then just kind of the techniques that came into that were really good. It was kind of what drew me in the most in the whole series, actually.
Yeah. Oh, just for our viewers or our listeners, real quick. Suo is the one with the eye patch and the earrings. He was always that super nice guy, on our side of the team.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah. Alec, you were about to say something?
I loved his description of like what fighting style he used. Where the guy who's always writing down things in the book, he's like, "What style are you using? What was that? That was crazy." He says, it's kind of a mix of everything. My teacher was self-taught, so it's
Yep.
like, so he didn't really have a style at all then. So
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
But
If
he's
you
like
didn't,
clearly kung fu.
oh yeah. So everything was always a counter, which I definitely loved. And if you didn't say that, what you just said, I was definitely gonna bring that up because I thought that was so goddamn funny.
Yep.
But yeah, Suo, he's definitely a badass. He's this nice guy. He's always gonna be like humanistic, and he's gonna be amazing. And he's not gonna cause pain, but he's gonna like reverse it back on you, and he's just like counter everything. And totally understand why this is your favorite fight.
It wasn't. He mopped the floor up with him.
Definitely.
Yep.
This being said, I would like to see him go against someone who's actually more worth his, time and effort and actually push him to his limits.
Definitely.
Because Suo, he never had a challenge. Like he got into 2 fights this entire first season, that being in this tournament. And again, right outside where they met the pink haired guy, where he saved the girl that was having a shitty boyfriend and they got into a big fight outside. And he just countered another guy out there. Like it was just everything's just a counter fight with him, and everything just seems so easy peasy with him.
Exactly. Alec, what about you? You have a favorite fight?
So that totally was my favorite fight, but if I had another favorite fight, I would probably have to go to Sako and Hiragi. I thought that as far as like showmanship, it was a very good like back and forth kind of fair. It was like the first fair fight of the whole matchup. Like the first one, I mean, honestly, that fight isn't even worth mentioning because it was just basically just one punch knockout. Oh, let's move on to the next fight. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, oh, like shut your mouth. I'm good at what I'm doing. But this fight is where like things finally got serious. Like you got to see 2 big heads of both gangs, clans, whatever you wanted to call them. They really went head to head to each other. Dished out a lot of damage back and forth to each other. It was a good, fair fight. Hiragi, still good guys are always on top in this show. So he clearly won, and I thought that was just a really good fight where it just showed really good just fighting showmanship in martial arts.
Fair
It was
enough.
just nice seeing a fair fight as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
What about you, Lance?
I would definitely agree that the Suo fight was my favorite. That one just seemed just beautiful. So I'll give that to Matt. But to give another bone to another fight would definitely be the final fight with Hajime versus Choji. I loved, even before the fight officially started, Choji just like flash kicked his own boy. What was it? Togame. Like he just kicked him out of the way like he was like no big deal. Show him his cold side. I don't give a shit about anybody. Really painted a picture about how much of a douchebag this guy is. And then immediately after that, he's ready to deck him. I was instantly ready for this fight to happen. Like I had my fist clenched the entire time. I was like, oh my God. I was rooting for Sakura to deck him, but cool boy Hajime, the guy who had to fight him in the end, really played his cards well. He knew how to handle this whole entire situation. So I gotta give him props for that. But I guess what it really came down to was the emotional side, was where Hajime would basically let himself be the punching bag for Choji, and then ultimately let Choji break down enough in order to, I don't know, realize, well, I guess he got his ass kicked a little bit, but it got to the point where he realized that he's not going to have fun if he's got no one to have fun with. So I think that was the biggest takeaway out of this entire tournament, is that, you need friends in your life in order to have a fulfilled. It doesn't even necessarily need to be friends, but you need people in your life in order to continue having fun and share those experiences with. So I thought that was powerful enough.
Whereas like,
Yeah.
they would kick anyone out if they showed any sign of weakness, every
Yeah,
single time, thinning out their herd. Whereas Bofrin, they welcomed everybody into their, group or gang or
right.
whatnot.
Yeah, I thought the pulling of the jackets and kicking them out of the crew was the biggest act. Like, I totally understand. Like, we only accept the biggest and toughest guys. So if you can't handle it, you're out. Like, I get that mentality, but you're going to go nowhere if you slowly dwindle yourselves down to the minimum of what would have been 2 people in your entire crew. And in the end, your number 2 got his ass kicked as well. So, like, you're not even a gang.
Well, that's because he let him.
Yeah, that's true.
He let up
Well,
at the end.
well, that's because he realized what they were fighting for. Like this whole time, he thought this was a display of strength and a crossing of turf. And like when the truth was finally revealed that it was just like some middle school kid who chased a burglar back into his neighborhood,
Yeah.
and then they beat up a middle schooler. Like these high school kids beat up this middle schooler, and then they got their asses kicked for beating up a middle schooler, and that's what started this whole tournament in the first place. And he goes, "That's what we're fighting for? We're
Yep.
defending these bullies? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like, you guys never told me that. Like, you made me think that, like, they were trespassing on us when really you guys were just being, like, bullies." He's
Yeah,
like, "I'm
I
not defending that."
totally love that entire turnaround because
Yeah, then he
Togame,
went and kicked his ass, too.
yeah, because Togame, the vice captain of the bad team, supposedly, like he has a heart. He's a good guy, and when he learned this information, like I understood. Like it sounds weird to say, like I understood where his values were at, but like if when he realized this was all bullshit to begin with, like oh man, it took a turn into reality, which is interesting.
Yep.
It made him a
Yeah.
very real character at that point.
Yeah.
And the thing with Choji is he didn't care. He just wanted to fight people. He didn't care about the reason.
Hmm. I liked that there was a constant like realization that his punches were like fast but had no power behind it, and it's because he had nothing to fight for. Like I know that sounds super cheesy, but it made total sense in this aspect. So I totally accepted all of that.
Hmm. Do you think so now that they are completely like a buddy up team, do you think that for season 2 it's going to be those 2 gangs against Keel?
I can
Or
see
do you
them
think they're
teaming
going to be
up.
brought in at all?
At first impulse, I'm gonna say this is gonna be purely Bofrim. And then maybe if shit starts to get too real, then maybe like Choji and the vice captain Togame
Kagome?
could join up in the end and like help out a little bit because we basically have a unity between the two. Not that they're like 2 gangs joining into one, but like there's a respect between the two where they'll work together. So I really like that idea. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think that it's going to be 2 gangs versus 1.
I think the only way Shish Torin is going to get involved is if whatever this outside gang involves them. And then it may be a 2-on-1 kind of thing, but it's more of like kind of like a pincer attack where they're trying to attack from both ends that just happen to be going on versus them combining forces.
Gotcha. So you think it'll only be like a couple like select members of the Choji's group or whatever, the Shishitorian? You don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna be like their whole gang?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think I don't think so because this is still all about territory.
Yep.
So it's going to be whoever's territory is involved to begin with. Maybe they'll ask for help, but it's not going to be a complete amount.
Yeah, I don't even think there'll be any asking of help. I think it's all solo gigs kind of thing.
I can see that.
I guess, do we want to go into favorite characters right away?
Might as well.
Okay.
Alec, you want to start this out?
Sure. I'm gonna go right off the bat. My favorite character was Suo. I think he was just awesome, badass character. I liked how cool and collected he was, but at the same time, like just total badass to the point where like just mopping people up. Honestly, I thought there was a split part of me that at the very beginning of that fight that he was gonna eat it completely and be a terrible fighter, simply because of the comments they were making about like, we don't actually know anybody he's ever beaten up. We just hear all these stories that he's
Yep.
beaten up all these people. And I'm like, oh my God, what if he's a total fraud?
Exactly. I could
and then
totally see it going that way.
and then it turned out to be he's just a total actual badass. So the
Yeah.
stories were true.
Yeah, he's just a humble badass.
What
What about
everybody
you?
likes.
Matt, I'm gonna let you take the next one because I got a few characters I like.
I also have a few characters I like as well. I am gonna kind of go off a little bit. I'm gonna pick one right away, and then I want to talk about a second one. But I'm actually going to pick the captain of our school, Hajime.
Ah, that was gonna be
Ooh.
mine. Okay, all right, you go for it.
Okay, I think he is an absolute great character. I think he is just, he wants everybody to kind of be individuals, but still be a part of the team. And he is kind of the driving force to help our main character develop, besides my second favorite character, but I will let Lance continue before I name anybody else.
All right, so yeah, Matt's favorite character is definitely my favorite character. Actually, Alex's character is also one of my favorite characters. Like, it's a close tie between the two. They're just too badass. But
Yes.
it's a very close runner-up. But I'm gonna go with Kiryu, the pink-haired guy. He just
Okay.
has this. I don't know. It could be controversial depending on how much you want to dig into it. I mean, the dude just goes up and beats up some guy and steals his girl. But
I want to talk. That was not his girlfriend. That was
I
just
know.
some girl. So just throwing that out there.
Oh, okay. That's fair enough too. It didn't necessarily have to be the girlfriend, but from our point of view as the viewers, Kiryu was doing his service, protecting the town, protecting another civilian. This girl was uncomfortable, and he went and took care of it. Probably not in the best way possible, but we're talking about delinquents here, so we got to go with the flow of the show. Totally accepted everything. He's very humble in everything. The way he handled that conversation, we got to remember. I'm going back to the scene where they're all in that protein ramen shop, and
With Sagaria.
Yeah, with muscle
that's the
protein
muscle guy.
ramen.
Yeah.
So they're there with him, and he's being super loud and aggressive about everything. But then Kiryu's like, "Hey, man, do you understand how everyone perceives you? You're this big guy, and you're very loud. And here's this girl. Don't you think you're scaring her?" And then just the subtlety that he talked about all this stuff and made him realize his own faults in a very nice way just brought, I don't know, I respected that a lot, and the fact that he has great fighting abilities behind all that too. Like, there's a coolness about him, and he can hold his own. So I have a lot of high hopes for Kiryu.
I also found it funny that he voted for Sakura because he didn't want it himself.
Yeah, that too. Everyone did not want the responsibilities, and they wanted their own free time.
Yep.
Yeah, so I thought that was all funny.
So another character I want to talk about is going to be basically the first character that we meet when Sakura gets into the town, and that is Kotaha. So she is the 16-year-old that runs the shop, essentially.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, she does
at the
deserve some
cafe.
respect.
She definitely does. I don't know about you and the rest of our listeners, but on my first watch through, totally went over my head that she was 16. Like, as we continue the series, especially for those of you who watched it week by week, you kind of forget that she might be 16. But I totally thought she was like graduated at the very least, or late dropout. But I thought she was an adult.
She definitely
fact
gave
that-
off like big sister vibe.
Yeah,
Well, she's always at the restaurant too, so it's like,
that too. Yeah,
when
she
do
definitely
you
doesn't
go to school?
I don't think she does. I think she's a straight up dropout.
She's a delinquent, protected by
Oh!
delinquents.
Actually, Matt, before I bring in my next topic, you need to talk about her a little bit more. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like we need to give some love to her because she is one of the other driving force for Sakura to kind of develop as a character. She is the first person to implant that he will not be the leader of Bofarin if he tries to do it himself, no matter how strong he thinks he is, because that's just not how it works. She is the other reason why he kind of just figures stuff out. She also has some comedic stuff, and of course she is a part of the hub when it comes to everybody kind of meeting up, because they always go to her cafe that she is the cook, waitress, whatever for. I just really like her as a character. I feel like she helps Sakura a lot, and he definitely needs it. So it's nice to kind of see somebody that's not like his best friend help push him through these things.
Yeah, she brings a lot of reality to Sakura. Like she made that one comment. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was saying something along the lines of, "Well, if you don't know exactly what you want to do, at least do what you can." And that
Hmm.
was in response to at least learn everybody's names and help people the way you know how to help people. And he took that to the best of his abilities, and he really started to bring us into what we'll come to focus in on season 2, but that could be a different conversation.
Yep, and kind of telling him to stop looking down. Like, just because people didn't accept you previously, like, people are actually look at you here. They will accept you, but you have to be willing to let them accept you.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, looking down, looking me in the eye, and then I really liked in the anime, I don't know if they did this in the manga, Matt, but when they were giving us the point of view of Sakura and he had like his hair over his eyes, like it just made me
Yep,
feel like, yeah, that's how exactly how I was in high school. Like my hair was over my eyes, feeling all emo and stuff and whatever, and
yep.
wanted. But it was just really funny to see that his point of view had the hair in front of his eyes.
It did in the manga, by the way.
It
So,
did? Oh, that's super
yep.
funny.
Yep. She's just a fantastic character, and
Mhm.
it's nice to have somebody like I've said, it's nice to have somebody else that's not going to be a part of the school to kind of help push him through the character development that Sakura needs in order to get what he wants.
Definitely.
I
Lance,
would
you said
agree.
you
He's
had more
very wholesome.
Yes, absolutely. Lance, you said you had more people you wanted to talk about?
Not necessarily more people, but I wanted to piggyback off of the fact that we're talking about a girl
Okay.
because in this anime, I took notice that there is no girls at the school.
The two
That's
kings, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say there is absolutely zero girls in the first year that we see,
yep.
and
Mhm.
At least in 1-1.
and one
I don't
one.
know how
Yeah,
many.
that's fair. But I feel like the first girl that I took notice at the Bofriend school was one of the kings, and
Mhm.
we didn't get introduced to her until obviously the very end. So it just makes me curious. Are we focusing on just this one class? It just so happens to be all guys, or are we going to start getting introduced to more girls? I don't know if this is because this is just a delinquent kind of trope that goes on. Like, of course, all the badass boys have all these whatever. We can just all the obvious stuff that goes on with little boys, but
There's no
are
room for a healer in this show.
yeah. So yeah,
that's
I just
Kotaha,
took
by the way.
notice that there's very limited girls in this whole anime, definitely in the fighting scene.
I feel like that's going to be a common theme. There's just not going to be a whole lot of them, because none of the captain or none of the class leaders were. It was just the two girls that were the kings, which I guess we'll see. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a common theme.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, so as far as these girls go and these kings go, it definitely makes me more invested into seeing what season 2 has to offer. Like we in like the first couple episodes we got these silhouettes of these kings, and I only really recognize that because we rewatched this as we prepared for this episode, but these kings are going to be very important, especially since the rest of the school has this insane respect for everybody that's higher than them, which is kind of funny because Sakura gives no shits about anybody whatsoever. So he's always instantly amazed and shocked every time the rest of the school is like standing straight up and then bowing towards anyone above them. So I always thought that was pretty funny comedically. But I would like to see these kings play a very big importance in what's going to happen in the next season. Kind of I was about to say maybe this whole blue robed dragon skeleton keel group, maybe not at first. The Kings are not going to get involved. I think this is going to be a very personal thing, but I think after they go save what's his name's best friend, childhood friend, that it turns into something bigger than they realized, and it might turn into a huge gang fight afterwards. So that's kind of where my thought is going. What are you guys thinking?
Alec,
I
I'll
would
let
agree.
you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely geared. I mean, they have to bring in the kings. There's been so much reference to them, and we've gotten to see a taste of it with Haragi on how like they are regular, kids, but they are better than everyone else kind of thing. And they made it seem like these new kings that they were bringing in, that they're gonna be like even better than Hiraki. That was the feeling that I got. Even like the girls aside, they look like badasses. They got the colored hair, they got things going on. So I was like, ooh, can't wait to see how this all kind of shapes up for the next season. And then that one dude looks very odd. Not much has been revealed on that other king. But I think it's very much going to be focused on one, like reuniting those two friends together, and two, I definitely see an all-out gang war between Keel and Boferin, and potentially the Shishitaros or whatever.
Shishitoran?
Shishitoran, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely have to come into play somewhere, especially if they're basically combining alliances or at least
Mhm.
being buddy.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. And I think what's his name? I think Sakura is going to become a king by the end of season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the
There only really seems to be three hierarchies of this, of like normals, kings, leader. So I see him becoming a king.
yeah. I was gonna say like you want your main character to be on top and be the best of the best. So I mean, he's already worked his way to be the president or whatever, the leader of first year. So
Hmm.
he's only gonna wake. His goal was to be the best of the school. So I would like to see him eventually be the best at the end of everything.
Maybe at the end of the series, but I think
Yeah.
at the end of season 2, I think it's going to focus on this Keel, and probably that's probably going to be like 2/3 of the season, and then towards the end of the season, they're going to bring in, I don't know, another gang or somebody else is going to cause strife somewhere. Alec, I don't think you're going to see any Shishtorans in season 2. I think they're kind of
No.
they're going to be what it is.
Or at least Choji. I think Choji and his vice captain need to make at least another appearance, but as far as their gang goes, probably irrelevant.
get some lunch or something. So that I think it's going to revolve all around Keel. I think what's going to happen is Sakura is basically going to kick the shit out of everybody in Keel, and he's going to get more recognition, but I don't think it's going to really revolve around anything too much. It's going to be more of the kings are going to be like, oh, okay, so this guy is actually something, and everybody's going to start recognizing him as a good fighter, but I think that's as far as it's going to go, at least as far as season 2 is concerned.
I can see that. I'm pretty sure the majority of season 2 is going to be Keel being more than they realized, and we're going to have some kind of bloodbath to a degree. I mean, it's hard to not compare this anime to Tokyo Revengers because there's just way too many similarities going on, but at the same time, you kind of need that. It's got it. We're talking about delinquents, so it's going to be gang versus gang, and we're going to be talking about eventually the best of the best has to start fighting the best of the best. So I would like to see our kings start fighting their kings, and then seeing some badass fight sequences coming out of that.
I think that's going to be the end of the season, but it's not going to be Keel. It's going to be some other group
Oh, okay.
that causes a fight between the kings or something along those lines.
Ooh, maybe Keel is like an underling gang of another bigger gang, and they're just essentially following orders, and then that's what's going to bring us into season 3.
And that's why they need the money,
Yeah.
besides
Oh, yeah.
being greedy delinquents.
Money was
That would
definitely
make sense.
a thing. Interesting. I don't know. Just ideas to throw out there.
By the way, season 2 has been announced by
Awesome.
Crunchyroll and a bunch of other people. It is coming out next year, so 25. Beyond that, no idea.
Okay. It's a waiting game. That's totally fine.
We just know it's coming out next year.
Yep.
I'll definitely give season 2 a watch. I like this show. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I definitely didn't hate it. Definitely wanted to. I'm definitely interested in seeing what season 2 has to bring. One thing I wanted to see a little bit more in this show was a little bit more deeper conflict, I guess. It was very much, hey, the good guys are gonna win. You know how it's gonna happen, and we're gonna move on from there. Like I wanted to see at least one of them go down, show that they're not invincible, kind of thing. And I think they need to bring that in season 2.
I 100% agree. When it came to that tournament, we won 5 out of 5 of those matches. You'd think that there'd be a loss somewhere, but I don't know. I mean, I guess you want to shock the audience. Like you'd think that there'd be a loss, but actually we won everything. But then after you go that route, then you're just trying to think like, okay, everything's OP, and
Yeah.
Yeah, but who was gonna lose?
It would have been in the
It
last
would have
couple,
had to have been Sakura, and Sakura wasn't going to lose.
right?
Choji couldn't have beaten Hajime.
A king could have
And
lost. Showing that the kings weren't invincible could have been a big thing for Sakura.
no, because that just
No.
shows weakness within. Basically, that like, why do I want to be at this school if one of our top brass loses to not even the vice captain? So it couldn't be him.
Right, so you'd have to go.
Toto, I mean Suo, he could have been a flop.
He could have been, but then he showed he was a complete badass, so that
Yeah.
didn't happen. And
And
then,
then
The very first fight, the initial
that
knockout.
could have been that could have been a loss.
but
yeah,
that guy
it-
was a bitch too. So
Yeah, he was a bitch. It was very, very funny and humorous that we won on a single punch.
yeah.
But at the same time, that could have also been the easy, hey, we lost the first match. It's time to step things up kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But you also couldn't have like one of the strongest in the class lose in one hit.
Yep.
So
Maybe not one hit, but at least make them lose over time, kind of thing.
they brought too good of people. That's all it was.
This gang sucked ass.
Yeah. I mean, clearly the strongest fighter was Choji. And
He was biting that kid's neck and everything. The kid was out of
he turned
control.
into a vampire / zombie for a second. And then he mounted him. And I thought it was going to turn sexual for a second. I was like, oh, this is very interesting.
Well, that's what happens when you're 5 feet tall versus a 6 foot person. So
yeah.
He's like, call me daddy.
The only struggle we had was Sakura versus Togame, and that was the only one that.
Even then, not really.
No, he definitely had some struggles getting his face kicked into the floor.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. Until Togame realized that all of this entire fight was based off of just like bullshit. It almost looked like Togame was totally gonna kick Sakura's ass. He was he was leading that fight, and then I think he realized that maybe now we can start having some fun with it or something. I mean, you can take it in any direction you want, but the vibe of the fight after the realization totally shifted.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
So that one I could see not really having anything too crazy happen. I guess one thing as far as the series is concerned, did Sakura's personality kind of sully part of the series? Like, did you enjoy his personality?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
It was
fair.
It was hard to take him seriously at first, but Alec, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it was just he was just an annoying bratty kid and just when I want to be the strongest, when no one likes me. It was like like the opposite of like season 1 Midoriya of like My Hero Academia. He was like whiny in an aggressive way, and it just came off bratty, and I couldn't connect with him. I mean, I recognize that he's strong, but like he was an ass. Like he wasn't a likable character.
Fair enough.
It was hard to like him at first. The only kind of props I can give him were that he found it very odd that the community was accepting him for protecting the community itself, and that he was receiving breads and fruits, and just everybody in the shops were giving him food and stuff, and they were happy to support him for saving the city. And that's the only kind of positive thing you can take away, was his shock in the realization of the acceptance that he was getting versus what he was used to, which was complete push away. Like, you're a reject in every manner of everything. I would like to see a little bit more backstory on all that stuff, because we got just a basic vibe on him being a shitty delinquent back in wherever he was prior to this, and now he's being accepted for everything. So I can understand his emotional side, but there wasn't an exact, I don't know, I want to say understanding of exactly where he came from prior to this, because we can only assume that, you know, he was just treated shit because of just things,
because of the way he looked. It was the main thing of it. Was like, yo, you have a weird eye and weird hair, like you're weird, we're gonna bully you. And that, I guess that was like his main backstory. It's like,
yeah. And that's another big topic to bring up, is the way he looks. Like, is there going to be some kind of explanation for his 2 different colored eyes, his split hair, and just the way he is?
Well, Lance, you're the subject matter expert of 2 different colored eyes. So
I was gonna say, I was like, Lance, is there a secret meaning behind your eyes that we need to know about?
For all of our listeners, I myself have two different colored eyes, and I could say that I have been wanting to fight everybody in my life because I need to claim dominance. No, I'm just totally kidding. I do definitely have two different colored eyes, but my hair is not split down the middle differently. So
And one's not gold, so you just suck.
yeah, I have a brown and a bluish eye, so that's my line. But I
What's his
definitely
name?
we definitely need to know more.
So Suo, he mentioned that the reason he wears an eye patch is because he sealed some like ancient god or something behind his eye or ancient
That was
spirits.
that was
And
100% a joke.
no, there could be some meaning behind it, and because we don't know what's behind this eye patch, maybe he was saying that in a joke like manner, so that way no one would take him seriously. But what if him and Sakura what if he has the opposite eyes that Sakura does, and
Ooh,
then
that would
that
be
gets
interesting.
revealed?
That'd be cool.
I
As
can see a
far
plot twist like that being thrown into a show like this. I wouldn't throw past it at all.
as far as Suo goes with his eye patch, I can definitely see a moment where he pulls like a Kenpachi from Bleach, where he's been holding himself back and he takes the eye patch off and all of a sudden he's a better fighter.
Well, yeah, he can, has depth
See.
perception and
Yeah, right?
see.
He's got like depth perception.
Yeah. So I don't know. He's got the earrings to be flashy. He's a very humble man, and I think he's holding himself back. I don't think he has a realistic handicap or something going on with him. I know it might sound mean to say, but I think he just might be a potentially shitty guy that he's doing it just for show. Of course, they're gonna if I'm right, of course he's gonna be saying it just because he's giving his opponent an advantage because he's just so strong. But I would like to imagine that he's not actually disabled.
So you're
You think
saying
he's
he's not
faking it?
Tengen.
Yeah.
I like it. I also think there is an eye behind there, so I'm with you.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
different. I'm gonna say he stabbed himself in the eye and lost it. That's why.
You think it's self-inflicted?
Well, whatever the case is, we definitely need a story behind it, and that's what season twos in general are all about: is backstories on individual characters.
Yep.
Yes, we got the character development. We understand who these people are. Let's see why they are the characters they are.
Exactly.
Yep. I hope in season 2 we have a less awkward Sakura. Like, I
Yep.
get it. He never was accepted anywhere, so he never had friends. Doesn't really know how to interact with people, but a little bit less. That would be nice.
Yep.
He blushes at everything.
Everything.
It got so annoying. I was like, "Come on, dude!" Like all they did was ask you a simple question. What's your favorite color?
No one's asked me this before.
No one's cared. Like, come on, dude. Like,
Basically,
get a
yeah.
grip.
Yeah, he's finally coming into reality, and he's getting friends, and it's exciting to see. Other than all the cringy stuff, but I think it'll be less and less. I'm excited to see him take his role of being Class 1 president seriously. We saw this at the end of season 1, so I'm excited to see him grow from this.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Lance, since I pushed this on you to watch, what'd you think of it?
Ultimately, at the end, I would say this is above mid grade. I'd say
Okay.
this is about a 7.5 ish.
Okay.
I know you've given me critiques in the past where it's easy for me to like stuff. I did like this one. I would not say that this is amazing, but given what we have been given in this past 6 months, I would say this was a very solid show to watch. I feel like 7.5 might be a little too low. So let me bump this up to an 8. I think this is definitely worth the watch if you like high school drama and fighting in general. If you want to subtract the superpowers, there's nothing supernatural about this show. It's realistic enough, and it's just a nice growing story. So,
Except for
Summer-
getting hit in the head with a baseball bat and not flinching.
yeah, what the fuck was that about?
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, okay. Ultimately, better than mid, 7.5 to 8. I think this is, if you need something to watch, this is something to watch.
Yep. What about you, Alec?
I would be around the same, except I would bump down. I would say this is a solid 7. It is above mid grade. I would put it right on par with Tokyo Revengers. If you're looking for a good fighting show, this is solid. I'm glad I watched it. Is it on my rewatched list? No, but will I watch season 2? Yeah. So I think it's a solid show, and I think it did its purpose of giving you some solid melee fight scenes.
Yeah,
That's fair.
absolutely.
The only critique I would have is I would put Tokyo Revengers above this one. I think Tokyo Revengers has a much better story,
Yes.
mainly because it has a fantasy aspect to it that makes it more interesting. But getting to the realistic part of like gang fights and stuff like that, it is definitely on par with that. So I definitely see where you're going.
Yeah, better story in Tokyo Revengers, but I'd say better fights in this one
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
you get to the non-dub season of Tokyo Revengers.
Oh yeah. We're not there yet with English. We'll get there eventually.
Maybe, hopefully.
Then
What did you think of Windbreaker?
I solid 7. It was good. Not great. Just as you guys said, it was mid, little above mid. Just kind of, it's an easy watch. That was kind of nice. Like I breezed through this no problem, and the story was the story flowed.
Flew.
The
Flown.
story made sense. Like what happened, everything just from point A to point B, everything made sense. Why things happened a certain way they did. And so that was nice. Like there was no anime logic in anything. And so all in all, it was a decent show. I recommend it to people, obviously, since I was the one that suggested this one. But it definitely is not a rewatch 3, 4, 5 times kind of show.
Would you guys think that it should be better to binge watch, or would this be better a week by week kind of show?
I watched this over the course of a weekend, and I thought this was a great rainy day weekend binge. Like if you're looking for something to watch on a Saturday and Sunday and want to get through a season just kind of in between shows, this would be a great one to watch.
Absolutely. I think I watched 10 of the 13 episodes in 2 days, and then kind of periodically finished the season. So it was very easy to watch, stop, get back into. There's nothing too serious about this show where it's like, oh crap, what did I miss in between watches?
Yeah, I agree. I was watching this show periodically as it was being released, but I would ultimately lean on saying binge worthy. It's better in that way. It's easy to watch in succession. You're not exactly going, that sounds a little bad, but you're not exactly going to get bored with anything. Something's happening at all times. So it does keep you involved in the show, and you want to know what happens next. So this is binge worthy enough.
Absolutely. Okay. So we need to talk about the first time we meet Toma.
Which one's Toma?
Hiragi. So the shark face, shark teeth guy. Dude get whacked in the back of
the first protection of the town.
Yep. Gets whacked in the back with a baseball bat. It literally bends in a 90, and it's like basically, oh, okay, yep, that was something, and continues on with what he needs to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's anime logic right there.
Yes.
Unless that bat's
so tough.
Made out of like really, really warm metal.
But like the thing is, like he wasn't all that like indestructible. Like he had that weird stomach virus thing where like if he got too stressed out, he had to take like some stomach pills. So like,
well, that's
it's not like
Hajime's fault, but
yeah, he made absolutely no sense. Like his internals were made out of glass, but like his muscles and bones were made out of steel. Like I didn't get it.
I mean, he was definitely a badass character. And then it was really funny to see him have this like explosive energy to like have a shouting match and then instantly give up because like I'm gonna start coughing up blood if I continue this shit. So I need to start popping some pills.
yeah, then him trying to tell Hajime how to speak through the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was always
that was always great.
That was always like it was on the edge of being really funny and being really like lame, but I crossed the edge to find all of those scenes really funny.
Well, it kind of shot me back too to like you remember back in high school and like whenever it was like your turn to talk on like the microphone for school and you always blew it. Every single time you would always like be too close to it and it would sound like it's just like exploding and it just kind of shocked me back to like oh yeah, I remember school announcements back in high school. Like yeah, people did talk incredibly loud and you're sitting there like cringing in class. But
How many people did
I
you go
thought
to
that part
school
was
with?
absolutely
Like 10?
hilarious.
That you were doing something like this? Like that was not an option for any of us in high school.
You
No,
never
yeah.
spoke on the intercom?
No, never.
No.
Wow.
We always went to big schools, so like yeah, you had to actually really want to be up there if you wanted to be up there. But that might just separate a handful of people.
Gotcha. Well,
Alec,
surely
did
you
you go to
remember.
a small school?
I did. I did go to a
Oh,
very small school.
okay. They just wanted to include everybody in that school, apparently.
Yeah, you just kind of everyone got like their turn to talk on the intercom kind of thing. But
Oh,
I mean,
that's nice.
surely at your big school, people like messed up talking on the intercom.
Oh,
No,
they
'cause it was
definitely would have.
Yeah,
Well, yes, but it was adults usually, so it's
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
that would have been the other thing is yeah, in our schools it was outside of elementary school, I don't think mine and Matt's middle and high school had children speaking over the loudspeaker.
I would not trust any children to announce
Exa-
anything.
yeah, exactly. Fuck them
It's
kids.
adorable.
Elementary school, totally go for it. It's fun.
Middle and high school,
Maybe
I
middle school,
don't
but high school, no.
I don't trust anything those kids would say. You give them access to a speaker that can talk across the school. No.
Broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. In today's culture, especially, you got TikTok. They're gonna say something stupid over the
The
intercom.
freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yep.
zero trust.
This school seemed to be run by children. I haven't seen a single adult in this.
Yeah,
Exactly. There's not.
I find it
Sorry, Matt. You go.
I find it funny that there's a bunch of adults outside of school, but zero inside school.
Yeah, this
They
is
gave up on these kids.
Yeah.
No one was able to reach these kids.
I mean, there's graffiti everywhere. This is definitely a rundown shit school, and this is just some weird ass community putting shit together and getting kids together, and it just so happens to work.
Well, it only worked because of Hajime.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a great person. It's gonna be a sad moment when in the end, if Sakura it turns out to be the number one person, because Hajime, he's such a great guy. He's running this school very well. He's high spirited, he's just a very good guy. And on top of that, like he's got a rooftop of a garden, and he is so
Tree.
goddamn excited for this barbecue to happen.
Where is this barbecue?
He's just a happy, lovable guy.
Nobody wants to talk about the tree just planted on top of the school.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna bring that in. Like, there's no anime logic in this, and I'm just like, is there though? Is there though?
There's
There's a
some.
lot going on that roof.
I don't know. I feel with the amount of anime that I've seen that have rooftop gardens, I'm half convinced that this is just normal in Japan.
Is it? I would like to learn more about that.
Yeah, apparently we just need to go to Japan. That's what it sounds like.
We need to start a GoFundMe to send us all to Japan so we can experience what these cultures are like. So that way we'd have a better integration of our podcast.
Yeah.
Rooftop gardens. That's all we're going
Yes.
for. I promise.
Fund our
strictly
rooftop garden tour.
Yeah, we're strictly going for rooftop gardens. We're going to interview every school that has one, and then we'll be the first to report about it. We just got to be funded.
I'll find one with a tree, I promise.
I swear to God, if it's run by a gang of kids, I'm out. I'm so out.
We got to fight our way through 10 different gangs just to get to one school.
Maybe
I'll
in the
beat
80s.
up some delinquent kids to look at their little rooftop tomatoes.
Yeah, getting past the jokes, like I would like to see some barbecue in season 2 now that we've already brought it up.
Barbecue and a beach party has to happen in season 2.
I mean, if you're going to follow anime tropes, we need a beach scene.
We do need a beach scene.
Well, it's a bunch of dudes, so I'm just throwing that out there.
There's two girls in this show, so we need to see a beach scene.
It's going to be season 2. If the anime is popular enough, they're going to be showing some big boobied girls, and Emily definitely heard that one. Huh? Yeah, you just walked into that conversation at the wrong point. Okay.
From all
So-
the parts to walk in, that's what she hears.
That's
It's great.
that's the one part she walked in. I'm leaving this in the podcast, by the way. But yeah, this is definitely a trope that a season 2 kind of thing would definitely bring in, is a beach scene kind of thing. And we're going to be introducing to more girls into this, so that's why I
Is
feel
that where the
it-
beach scene comes into? They're just gonna miraculously appear at the beach and be like, actually, we're all in class 2C. It's like we don't even have a 2C.
Yeah, just a random class full of pure girls,
Yes.
and all of them.
There's a word for that, like girl ninjas.
No idea.
Crap. There's a word
Shinobis?
for it, for like girl only ninjas, and I could totally see there being a whole faction of it in the school.
But we don't have ninjas in this school. This is a fight club.
There's gonna be ninja girls. Sorry, I'm still stuck on Lance getting intruded on during the big titties part. It's freaking hilarious.
Literally, there's so many like
been
videos
talking-
and memes about guys getting walked in on at the worst times. About 99% of an anime is going to be fighting, and then that 1% is going to be some girl being all fucking lewd and weird, and that's when they get walked in on. And that's exactly what happened right now.
Dude, it happens to me all the time with Caitlin too. Like she'll like walk in, she's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, to be fair, I had no idea that was about to happen.
No, exactly.
I mean that did happen to me when I was watching Jobless season 1 core 2, when he first Rudy first gets with his dad. Like he doesn't realize it's his dad and he's got the underwear on his face, and of course my wife walks in at that point. She's like, what the fuck are you watching? Because one of the chicks is like a bra for armor.
Yeah,
and that's all she's got, and she's like, god damn, that's a lot of side boob. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on right now.
You needed to watch like 2 minutes prior to this and to understand that this weirdness makes sense.
Sort of. Yes.
To a degree.
Complete sense. So yeah, all the time. Happens all the time. I am absolutely looking forward to season 2.
All right, so I think that basically concludes our conversation with Windbreakers, and I would like to conclude this conversation with our usual Pokemon quiz. You guys ready for this?
Ready.
No.
No.
Send it. All right, kick Matt's ass.
Yeah, Matt's a little 50-50 on everything. All right, so we are going to continue with our latest trend of sticking with Gen 2 stuff. If you want Gen 1 stuff, please go listen to our later episodes, but we're going to continue with Gen 2 at the moment. So, my first question. There are 2 new types introduced into Gen 2. What are those 2 new typings?
Dark and metal.
I
Matt?
was gonna say dark and steel, but fairy? Is it fairy and dark?
Okay. Alec is technically correct to a degree. Matt, what you said at first is 100% correct.
Okay.
Fairy comes a couple generations later, but
Okay.
it is dark and steel.
Okay.
So- Not
I'm
metal,
counting
but
that.
steel. Yeah.
I'm counting
yeah.
that.
So, yeah, I'll give you that one. You guys are-
I'll give that win to
Yeah.
Matt.
No, you're both correct. I'll give you that. All right. Question 2. What level does Crocona evolve at?
16.
18?
No. Remember, Crocona is the second evolution of Totodile. So,
so what-
Totodile evolves into Crocona. What level does Crocona evolve into Feraligatr?
Oh, okay. 32.
36?
Both wrong. The evolution of Totodile is a complete fuck you to everybody.
Oh.
Totodile evolves into Crocona at 18, and then Crocona evolves into Feraligatr at 30.
What?
So,
What?
yeah.
That goes against everything Pokemon stands for.
Yeah, all the original standards. Crocna is the shortest lived teenager state. So that's very
Well, it was
interesting.
shitty, so that's fine.
Yeah, Crocna was basically a whatever.
Yep.
All right, so you're both wrong on that one. All right, and my third and final question. Azalea Town is where the bug gym was, and that's where the special Pokeball creator is, Kurt. But in that town, Team Rocket takes over. What Pokemon suffers from Team Rocket's takeover?
Pokemon suffers in Azalea Town.
What
Wasn't it that weird sloth thing with the pig nose?
Nope, that's Gen 3.
Oh, it's Gen 3? Crap, I'm confusing it then.
man, this is a very difficult question. Let me go grab my guidebook. That'll give me the answers.
Nah, no cheating.
Let me pull out. Mine was holographic.
Yep. I'm pretty sure we
Yeah.
had the same one then.
Ooh.
All right, so if you were to guess any Pokemon between Gen 1 and 2, what Pokemon suffers?
Butterfree. I'm gonna say Butterfree. Final answer.
Vidonat. I don't know.
The answer is Slowpoke.
Oh, I was right with the sloth. I knew it was some sort of sloth
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Ah, I had the wrong one.
They want Slowpoke tails because apparently they're delicious and sell for a high price. So that's why rockets are going for Slowpokes.
Eat the
Because
tail.
they want to own restaurants.
They
Yeah.
want to eat that slowpoke ass.
Tail.
They're
It's
always
not
going-
shoulder.
Always
It's not
chasing
shoulder.
that tail. So yeah, those are my 3 questions. You guys got the first one, and you guys failed at the last 2.
Ooh.
That's on par. That's
All right,
I did not know that about for alligator. I feel like I always went with in Gen 2. I think I always did the grass one.
Chikorita.
Yeah, I think I always went that one first
Yeah, Chikorita.
because everyone went Typhlosion. It was just such an obvious choice.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone goes Typhlosion Cyndaquil round 1, and then Chikorita. She's
so useful though. All those absorbs.
Exactly. I always had a fondness towards Chikorita and Magnesium.
Mhm.
Sorry, he's just a badass Pokemon. It's just so underrated.
Mm-hmm.
terrible on Pokemon Go. But yes.
Yeah, that too. But back in Gen 2, definitely the staple grass type because if anybody's listened to our past couple episodes where I had started replaying Crystal version, there is 0 solid grass types. Because if you want to start with an Oddish or a Bellsprout, you don't get a Leaf Stone until you beat the original Elite Four, unless you are friends with this one Pickner girl. And if you answer enough phone calls, you can go get a Leaf Stone from her. But that is the only way you can get a Vileplume or a Victory Bell before the Elite Four. Otherwise, you have to get a Leaf Stone from Professor Bill's granddad or something like that. Someone who was taking over the old school Bill, and he just wants to see an Oddish. You show him an Oddish, and he gives you a Leaf Stone. But that's not till super fucking late in the game. So
It's more of like a completionist thing.
Yeah, it definitely gives you a handicap on things. So unless you want to go through the Elite Four with a subpar guy who is also grass, which also gives you the handicap on fire types too, because unless you're playing Crystal and you have the phone number of the correct guy, if you're playing gold or silver, you're screwed with a Vulpix or the Growlithe until you beat the Elite Four and talk to the relative of Bill in order to evolve them. Like, it just fucking sucks.
Yes.
The endless grinds of early game Pokemon.
Yeah, it was definitely you had to grind in at least gold and silver for sure.
And that was when it was actually difficult.
Yeah. Nowadays it's so easy. You can find shinies like it's no one's business now.
Yeah.
Whereas where before,
is
if
easy.
you had a shiny, like even just one shiny, like you were king of school.
Yep. Yeah. That was cream of the crop. You definitely had all the bragging rights. Nowadays,
everybody has shiny everything.
Yeah, nowadays it's easy to find anything anywhere you want it.
Mm-hmm. They take shame out from the game. Like they're not no respect anymore. Instant gratification is taken over.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's all I got for today's Pokemon quiz. I hope everybody enjoyed that one.
Hopefully, our listeners are doing better than we are. It is not good. Not good.
That's all right.
Absolutely. But that is all we have for this episode of the Anime Lounge podcast. Please make sure to check out the anime show on Facebook and Instagram. Check out all the awesome anime content they have on there. They have something new coming out every single day. Also, please subscribe to us, drop a like, and leave a comment. Let us know, what did you think of this episode? And have a good one.
Later, guys.
Good night. Have a good one, guys.